What's all the PMS with Coach G? It's positively motivating sisters with purpose, meaning, style. Are you ready for positive conversations inspiring you to your next level? Do you need motivation to get you growing? Are you a sister, woman, leader, boss, mom, wife, female, her, she? I think you know what I mean. Are you seeking purpose in your life? Do you know the meaning for which you stand? Do you know your style is your unique authenticator? If you answered yes to any one of these questions, this podcast is designed with you in mind, which embodies the whole you mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. Sisters, we are on a journey in connecting you from where you are to your what's next with purpose, meaning, style, and it all starts with you. Hi, this is Coach G. Think of me as your chief PMS cheerleader, motivating and wanting to see you win in your personal and professional life. Your connector, guiding you and bridging the gap from where you are to your what's next. I am your leadership and growth coach, empowerment speaker, author, mom, wife, Christian, and I get to serve you in doing what I am passionate about. You, sisters, we are on a journey for you living your life on purpose, for purpose, with purpose, meaning, style. Thank you so much. We are in a new week, new day. We are in episode 62. And this episode, I want to say is special. Not that any of the other ones are not, but being that this is a day after Mother's Day. But you know what? I think Mother's Day is every day because we get to experience and walk in that experience and embrace that experience of motherhood. So today's episode is about a mother's journal, about maybe the journey of the joys and pains, challenges of motherhood. And so I recently, asked several mothers just to, can you help me out? I'm doing a podcast and I wanted to ask three questions and I wanted their responses and I wanted to share those responses with you, wherever you are on your journey. We have mothers responded that are, children are in school age. We have mothers that have adult children, children in their teen years, whether it was single parent mothers or, husband and wife mother, household, or just that household where, you know, it was all girls or all boys or maybe a mixture. So what you're getting, or maybe even a mother raising, single parent in one child, or you have single parent raising three children or two children. But whatever that is, we had different voices and perspectives and thoughts and responses to these questions, which I think are encouraging. They are words of input to share in your journey where you are, whatever phase you're in. And sometimes listening to the response of someone else that's in that same uh, um, lane as you. I'll use that word, mother to mother. You can and share and embrace and experiences together and say, you know what? I'm not by myself. I'm not walking this journey alone. Or, you know what? Oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way. But whatever it is, it's just those experiences that can encourage us in our walk. And so I want to start out with a Bible passage from First Thessalonians 5:11. And it says, so encourage each other and help each other grow stronger in faith, just as you are already doing. So I believe that, that's where we are, that's what we're doing, and we are actually doing that. We are encouraging each other. That's what this is about. So let me go into my questions and I'm going to give those responses not necessarily in any kind of order of how they came to me or whose response it was, but just for you to hear if a mother was writing her journal, she was writing in her journal. I always talk about journaling, something that I do that's very healing. It brings self-awareness. It's emotional healing, mental healing, spiritual healing. But it is a time where you can just really just open up and express and write. So that's why this episode is called A Mother's Journal, because you're hearing the writings of another mother's story and emotions. So the first question was, what is your greatest reward of motherhood? So those responses were being able to watch my kids grow up into their own, having them to love, and one was the greatest reward of motherhood was watching your children become successful, proud of their accomplishments, and then even more excited about the success that is to come. And man, I have to say that particular response was from my own mother. So it really um, just made my heart glad and happy. I'm not going to get emotional on this podcast, but it was very emotional to read that response. And so it's always, even as a mother to her child, to read something that your mother have written is very inspiring to me. And then one was my greatest reward of motherhood is being blessed to even become a mother after having two miscarriages. Sometimes we experience loss, but then you look to see the reward even through that experience. So that's speaking to probably someone that's listening, speaking to your story, and then being able to spend lots of time with your children when they were young and living long enough to see them grow up and become healthy adults. Now that is something, that's a reward in that part of motherhood. And then you have accepting God's will to raise men and then realizing it was destined to have boys versus girls, seeing the goodness, the values, and morals it's instilled in them and using it in their everyday life. Another greatest reward was watching my children grow up, mature, and develop into beautiful adults that are a part of the solution and not the problem. Some of the greatest rewards of motherhood for another mother was watching her kids grow and learn, seeing them conquer fears, feeling their love and appreciation, watching them show care and compassion for others, and knowing that as a mother, that she's making a positive impact on their lives as well. And then watching, you know, a mother watching her daughter, do hard things through with tenacity and ferociousness under sometimes terribly hard circumstances, which would make, as a mother, make her so proud. And then another mother was just saying, seeing the wonderful woman my daughter has become. Not only is she a great daughter, she is also an awesome wife and an amazing mother. And so my second question to them was, what has been your greatest challenge? Now, we have many challenges. And as we go through different ages and stages and phases of our lives through motherhood, if we had to journal through all of that, this is some of the things that mothers responded with, the constant worrying and the what ifs. I'm sure we can resonate with that, especially for those that now, your children are probably have moved, through those stages and now more in adulthood. And sometimes we still question, maybe feel like that in adulthood, right? And then learning when and how to let go. For me, that's personal. That's one of mine. That's one of my greatest challenges. But often remind myself, and I try to, that this too shall pass. Whether it's through the heartache, the disagreements, um, just the discord or the divide, because sometimes that's again those ages and stages and phases of life, but knowing that this too shall pass. And then one was lack of support as from the perspective of a divorced parent. So you're raising that child or children as a single parent, and maybe sometimes not actually getting that support from the father, um, and then letting go while my daughter continues to grow and have her own independence. So clearly, we hear that this is a mother with a daughter, and that is one of, her greatest challenges. And another mother said, stepping back and giving them back to God as they transition into adulthood and live their own lives. Often that can be a struggle because for so long as we parent our children as they're growing, there's a part where we have to learn how to, for me, what I said, let go, step back. And for this mother, she's saying, giving them back to God, you know, as they transition and grow into their own, and then patience as they learned their way, because we're all learning. Even, in a mother's journal, hey, I'm still learning. And if you're in a different phase or stage or age with your children, you're still learning. So we're learning to be patient and then seeing they are not me. They had to find their own way, and I had to let them. So allow, as that mother, it's like, okay, you're not me, I'm not you, because we're each our individual persons, right? And then Hart had to accept the challenge of being a single parent again and raising young Black men in today's society, and then letting them go to walk their own paths. Sometimes we hear those similarities in the responses. We keep hearing that letting go, that acceptance, that stepping back, letting them learn their way. We're not them. That's that letting go. And then managing the demands of raising 4 children at once while balancing marriage, work, and other responsibilities, as well as navigating the emotional and developmental stages as they come and go. Because you know what it said, this too shall pass, but we go through those different stages. And I love the way she said developmental stages. And one parent response, or mother, because specifically these are mothers. This mother's response is say, you know what, if I have to be honest, it's the lessons that what I want for my child is what I want. That may sound simple, but just because my wisdom tells me to share something doesn't mean it's necessarily welcome. How many can say they have experienced that? But then just saying, I can share and guide. So that part of motherhood that, in that journal, that mother's writing and said, I can share and guide. And that's about it. That's that role that I play as a mother. And then another mother is being a single mom and realizing that I am enough. You know, do we have to tell ourselves that I am enough? I am doing my best. And then the last one, the last, question or statement that I asked is that, share a valuable lesson you've learned from being a mother. One response from a mother was to prepare for the unexpected. You know, I'm just going to add this statement. When I read that statement, one of my first thoughts was, being in that state of unshock, just kind of being in a state of being unshockable, because sometimes it's hard to prepare, but even in that part of preparing for the unexpected, because things we can train them in the way they should go, and there is even a scripture, train them in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. I believe that's even a reminder that even as we raise them to the best of our ability, sometimes there will be those things that will happen. But if you know that you've trained them up in the way they should go, even when it seems like the things that were unexpected, you know, um, can kind of shock us. But then I think as that advice or that lesson learned from this mother, as she's saying, but prepare, just try to prepare yourself. And then another one is, don't lose yourself in the life of being a mother. Yes, we give all, we love to the fullest, but we have to remember, going back to one of those responses, that wait a minute, they're not me, we're not them. So you know what? We're individual people, so we can't lose ourselves in the part of being a mother. And then another response was, love for our children teaches us all just how big our hearts are. When we have one child, we think we cannot love anyone more. How can there be more love than this? You may question yourself. But when we have more than one child, we can learn that our love can, in fact, expand and grow. Motherhood also teaches us about the depths of love, all the way to the moon and back. That's that unfailing love, right, as a mother. And then another mother's response was, one valuable lesson I've learned as a mother is my daughter has her own identity, style, and desires. And I have to realize and respect that her choices may not always be what I want for her. And then realizing that you can't make your children your gods and worship them. As much as you love them and are responsible for them, you can't worship them. That was a lesson from another mother. And then another mother's response was, by training a child in the way they should go, even when they are old, they will not depart from it. That was that scripture I was talking about, which is Proverbs 22:6. She said they may have taken a different path, but have never caused any problems, maybe have raised them very responsible children of their own. And we all enjoy being with each other. So through that, in their part of training them, and even when you go different paths and different things happen, it's always that enjoyment and time, again, that phase of coming together, coming back to how you were trained, that there will not stay a divide. Sometimes I say you may go through that phase where there's a slight divide, where it feels that way, right? And then one other lesson was learning the levels of communication. Man, we could talk about that on a whole new podcast, I'm sure, even in the part of just relationships, that levels of communication. We may be hearing more about that in another episode. And then another mother's response is, I've learned that I have to forgive myself for my mistakes and give myself some grace. Motherhood is a lifelong commitment, not just 18 years. Wow, it never stops, right? And then I can't pour from an empty cup. This is a lesson from another mother where she said, I can't pour from an empty cup. So the importance of self-care and making time for my own needs in order to be able to better care for my children and have a sound mind, and thus the ability to reason and regulate my feelings in the midst of difficult situations. Often I will talk about, you can't pour from an empty vessel, from an empty cup, that we have to allow ourselves to continue to feel ourselves, going back to, don't lose yourself in the life of being a mother. we love, but you know what? In loving and wanting to continue to love them, we have to learn how to care for ourselves and take that time for that importance of self-care. So that's a valuable lesson that this mother have learned, and I'm sure we often, a lot of us have learned. And maybe if you haven't, you're listening to this and you're saying, wait a minute, that's what I need to stop and do. Let me just take a little bit of care of myself, right? And then another mother's response is that a tribe of folks is the best way to mother. That valuable lesson, having a tribe, that village, having varied perspectives and life lessons brings a wealth of wisdom. And to her, that's a gift. But I'll say that is a gift. Being able to let go and allow others to be present with my kiddo and lift her up. That was her response. And then one of the last responses was, I learned that a perfect parent does not exist. The most we can do is the best we can and pray over our children. I think that was a great way to end that, um, to learn how to let go, cover them in prayer, trust others to help, you know, feed into them, give yourself grace and all of that. Um, and that is what this podcast is about. That's what it was about, just actually a mother's journal. You've heard it from different mothers, and I will acknowledge those mothers. So I thank you, Sean. I thank you, Glenda, which is my mom. And I thank you, Tina, Gloria Jean, Suzanne, Gail, Derica, and I had another Gloria, Londa, Yolanda. I thank you. Thank you for trusting me with your responses. Thank you for responding. Thank you for allowing me to share with other mothers, or maybe you're a new mother, or maybe you're an expectant mother, whatever phase you're in. And sometimes, even going back to that tribe, you may be a part of that tribe. And these are things that are lessons that you take in and learn from as well. So I thank you. I thank you for, again, every response. Thank you for trusting to share, to empower others on their journey, and just know that your voice does matter. I didn't have each one on here to speak for themselves. And, in that case, some of them probably would have opted out and said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. But I am so grateful for each one of these mothers. And I thank you. I can't say thank you enough. I hope I didn't miss any names. I'll just, for the sake of repeating, I want to repeat. So thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mom, for sharing your input. Glenda, Tina, Yolanda, Gloria Jean, Gail, Gloria, Derica, Suzanne, Londa, thank you so much. And again, this podcast, please share, just share this episode, share other episodes, talk about the podcast. And even in the part of just supporting this podcast, there is, in the show description, you can support the show. You may just make a donation. So as we continue to talk about things, share things, and continue to educate and empower and motivate and inspire. Um, I just love to do that. And I am so grateful that I can do that. And I just want you to know that when you listen and you hear and you share, it does matter. So continue to leave your comments, subscribe, rate, follow. And again, I will always say share, share, share. And in saying all of that, until next time, sisters, let's keep growing because it all starts with you.